Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, good night, good time of day to you, whatever it may be. Welcome back to the Lambda Log. We are back with week 3, day 3, the 28th of January. This is a big, long, busy day. We got 6 classes, but not a ton of notes because it's hard to take notes. This is a super practical day. So jumping right into it, we had thesis back right at it. Michaela wasn't able to teach maths today because she had a prior engagement, so we jumped straight into thesis again after 2 days. Um, so the question that I came in with is, what does it mean to take the Lord's name in vain? That's kind of my idea. Then we sat in a circle and we shared our questions, and then we started working in partners. And so we paired up with somebody else, and we then taught them our thesis and then had them perform it to another group. And then we saw and we got some feedback. So I paired up with someone and I got some good ideas from it. What I created for this is I looked up a do I have this available somewhere close? Let me see. I looked up a 13th century English prayer, like Catholic prayer, to follow along with the the themes I'm working on because I want to do 4 stories. I'm thinking the first story, like 4 scenes. The first scene is all about um, uh, ancient ideas. So for the first story, it's going to be King Henry V, right after the Battle of Agincourt, where he comes in and he's going to be praying and thanking God for the opportunity to beat the French. And it's going to be um, him thinking he's divinely inspired to do that. And then the second scene will be maybe a conquistador who is wait one second. My computer's getting a little low. Um, Conquistador, who is thanking God for teaching the savage natives about Christianity and getting slaves and all of these bad things. And then the third would be like a Christian national thanking God for border control while things are objectively worse for them. And then um, And then I was thinking about a fourth one being like a prisoner or someone who had objectively done bad things but was repentant, and God would be more pleased with him. But I came up with some ideas while I was watching, and then while I talked to my wife on the way home. But I just did the singular scene, Henry V with my partner, and so I took this prayer and I'll find it and I'll read it to you. So it started out with a disembodied voice just saying the commandment. It was the full one though. Jesus said unto him, Thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, and with all thy soul, and with all thy mind. This is the first and great commandment. And the second is like unto it. Thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself. And then a player walks in and kind of takes notice of the audience. Mhm. Okay, yeah, I see you. And then there's a breastplate to symbolize King Henry the Fifth. Puts on the breastplate. Once they put on the breastplate, they become the king. And it's just after the battle. And then he looks down, and on the ground is a crown, either like in a bowl of blood or on a severed head, but it's tainted. It's a bleeding crown, a bloody crown. And then he comes and puts on this crown, and then it will like ideally drip a little bit on his face. And then he christens himself in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Ghost and begins to pray. genuinely, authentically. And I think I'm going to write a prayer, but this is the prayer I found for the project. It says, Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where hate rules, let me bring love. Oh, and this would be in an English, British accent. So let me try again. Um, Lord, make me an instrument of thy peace. Where hate rules, let me bring love. Where malice, forgiveness. Where disputes, reconciliation. Where error, truth. Where doubt, belief. Where despair, hope. Where darkness, thy light. Where sorrow, joy. O Master, let me strive more to comfort others than to be comforted, to understand others than to be understood, to love others more than to be loved. For he who gives receives, he who forgets himself finds. He who forgives receives forgiveness, and dying we rise again to eternal life. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. And then stands up and triumphant, proud, removes the breastplate, becomes the player again. The player recognizes the blood dripping on his face, takes off the crown, casts it aside, is frightened by it, is has this negative association. Is like, what was that? Can kind of share that with the audience. And that was the gist of it. Fun, interesting. Don't mind me playing with my hair and wanting it to stay flat against my face. But yeah, and so that was the idea. And then we paired up with another group and saw theirs. But some ideas I had talking to my wife on the way home is that after these three with Henry V, Conquistador, Christian nationalist, lastly, it's instead of having like a fourth person, it's the player who addresses God. And he says, why would you make me portray these awful people and do these awful things? And then there's a moment where I want a prayer, like a commandment, to be associated with all these. And the idea is um, that maybe the commandment is that it's in the Bible that to you it is required to, I, the Lord, will forgive whom I forgive, but to you it is required to forgive all men. I don't know where that one is yet, but have this moment that it's not your job to judge these people, love these people, right? But that doesn't condone what they're doing. They too are breaking commandments, and right. And then the the of the Ten Commandments, thou shalt not take the Lord's name in vain. Thou shalt not take the name of thy Lord thy the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. So there's that repercussion attached to it too. Um, yeah. And so playing with that idea, I don't know. It's something. I'm working on it. Next, we had dance, and I was trying to remember this dance right before. So let me do the best I can. Um, so it was to, what's that song called? It's the um it's just called River by Bishop Briggs, and it's the like a river, shut your mouth and run me like a river. That one. So in gist, we're just jamming here. There's not enough space, so I'm just gonna do it. Walk, 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 spin, bow, cross. Mm. And then I forget. And then it falls apart. that part. Oh, done. Mixing the other one up. It ended this time. That's when it stops. Anyway, that's the that was a little gist of it, right? It goes, you walk, you spin, your knee and your arm goes out, then you look, then you reach, and you bring that over, then you walk, and you walk, and then you cross back. Oh, and then there's this one where you bring up your hair, bring up that, dum, bum. After that. Oh, I remember. It's up. Oh, it's up, down. No, it's three. Mhm. Oh, it's out, up, throw down, and then it throws you off balance, and then you do some more stuff. Anyway, it was fun. It's always just a little thingy. But it's fun to play with the contrast, and I feel like I got that one at the end, which was exciting and felt good. I was like, yeah, I finally got it. Um, so it's with Gregory, and of course before that we also did the warm up um with our abs and all that. I'm gonna get that recorded one day, and I'll plug it in. Yeah, I'm still a smidge bit sick, so if you hear like that's my sinuses, my cloggedness. Um, but yeah, then it was wonderful. I was the best I'd done the warm up yet. I felt like I had like I stuck in it the whole time, which was good. Then we had combat, and we had a few people helping out Joe, Jonathan, Andrew, Anna, and Cena. And we did the warm up first, the whole thing. And to start, I'm going to do this two little parts. First, so we finished choreographing the sword and dagger, right? Sword, dagger. Dun, 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 dun. But I didn't show you last week's. So the first half of it, there's 30 in total for the sword and dagger portion. We're going to learn um, a whole sequence, a whole fight that's going to be choreographed with different weapons and different things. And so we start out with sword and dagger, and then we both remove the daggers, and then we go into foil, I think, and then maybe we'll go into saber. I'm not sure how it goes after that, but yeah. So I first lunge, and then he blocks it, and then he lunges, and I pivot, and then I bring it up, and he blocks it, and then I kick him, then he spins, and then I come down on his head, he blocks it. I come up, he blocks it. Get him too close. I swing up, and I try to cut him off, and he blocks it. Then he tries to stab me. I block it. I switch to an this kind of grip, like Psycho. I come down on his neck. He dodges it. I swipe for his gut. He goes out of the way. Um, then then he comes. Oh, what's next? I forgot it. Um, oh, and then he comes for my head, and I block. My foot's wrong at some point. I block, and then I try to come, and then he knocks that away, and then I block with both, and then he goes with the dagger, and I parry here, and then I've got the sword up here, and I just blocked his dagger, and then I twist that around, and now he's splayed, and I'm front to back, and then I knee his arm, and he drops his dagger, and then I kick him, pow, and that's the first sequence, and then I establish this knife no longer is in psycho position, but regular position. Come back. There's a dialogue or something that we'll have, and then I go for his inner thigh to cut the femoral artery. He blocks it, and then comes over here. I block it. I swipe down on his head. He blocks it. Then comes up here high. I double block it. And then I come in here, try to go for his neck. He blocks it. And so wings it down, and then comes around, spins, and then comes in here. I block it. I throw it back, and I throw it out of his way. And then I come in for a gut shot as I lunge with my left, swipe at his gut, and then I come at his head, and then I try to go for the stab, but he steps aside and then pushes my blade on my arm, cuts it. I drop, and then we're like, no, what's next? And that's where we leave off. And now we both have single foils to continue on to our next section that we'll learn next Wednesday. Then we had a break for lunch, which was great. I made good food. Sounds good. Actually, I'm not sure what I ate today, but I ate. I know that. So much still to get through. We're good. We're cruising. We're doing it. And then we had accents with Jess. We did a quick warm up. Finding our sit bones, and then working up to our spine because we were just sitting in chairs, right? And then we did lion face, which is just trying to open up everything as big as possible, and then slowly retreating to relax into it. And a professional yawn, which is where you put this down with. Okay, professional yawn is just with your tongue out. Really opens you up. And then we reviewed our homework with the reading. And then we played with that game, that little song that, like, at least I learned when I was a kid. I like to eat apples and bananas. I like to oot ooples and bananas. I like to at apples and bananas. I like to oat opals and bananas. We're just playing with how would we write that out and spell it, because spelling isn't directly connected phonetically because language and things are different, and it's the whole shebang. So like for it, Iples, and bananas, I wrote IGHT, and Iples, EYE-PLES, and then bananas, BU-NIGH-NIGHS, bananas. And then oat, I wrote OAT. Opals, just OPPLES, and then Bonona is just with a O. But she wrote like opal, the stone, which was interesting to see, and that made sense. It's like, oh, I see where you got there. Um, yeah. And then this is a great technique for learning, is like writing it down. Then we looked at vowel, that a vowel is just shaped flow of air, and a consonant is an obstructed flow of air. And shape is created by tongue, the tongue body, the lips, and the jaw. And then when deciphering positions or posture of the tongue and mouth, we use one, our ear, and two, the sensation. And then we paired up with someone who didn't speak with us and had the same accent as us, and we went through all of the different lexical groups, and we looked at all those and we kind of broke those down. And I picked some. I was with someone from Ireland, and the big different sounds was Pam instead of palm. Then mouth, mouth. I always go Scottish when I think of that. A mouth, her mouth, and then thought was different. Taught. It almost got that like T, the taught. Um, thought, taught, taught, and then fut instead of foot. Yeah, it's football, which was interesting because her accent is so close to American because her mom's American and she spent a lot of time in America, but there's just certain sounds that are just like really good. And then our homework is to practice SSB vowels, listen to samples of bath, thought, lot, goat, and the artlessness of SSB. And that was the gist of that class. And then we moved on to acting through song. And it was great. My my voice still wasn't quite there. Um, so I didn't go, well, I put myself at the end of the list to see if we got to me. So the first person went and sang in the what does it say? In the sol of the night? In the still of the night. Jeepers creepers, buddy. Right better. In the still of the night. Um, from Rosalie. And the questions before she started was like, who are you? Where are you? How are you feeling? Um, what brings you to this song? And then what's the weather like? And lovely mix and vibrato. The song doesn't give you a lot to act with and fell into the trap of singing the mood rather than the song. And you can let that harmony have your back and find something that will um, lift you over and above the text. And then there's something as mundane as optimism. And what's the journey of the song and the character? And maybe the night is really scary and you need higher stakes, but maybe look into Don't Fire Me Up. Change the key. I don't know. It was they didn't really work with her much. When it's not a good song choice, they don't work much, which is kind of unfortunate. And then another person went and sang I'm off to drop the bomb. Um, questions of what are you full of? Where are you? Tell me about yourself. Time, light. Where was the fear from before? Miss the story. Okay, so the first time this was really cool. The first time it was very kind of the way Johnny Barr did it. Asked him to do it very vaudevillain. Goodbye, Mum. I'm off to drop the bomb, so don't wait up for me. Da 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 on your TV. Right. And it was all very the juxtaposition of the feeling and the lyrics. But for the acting exercise, it was really focused on um, how does your character feel? And so they broke it down and had him pick another class member to be his mom. And what if you are scared and play into that more? Um, and then he did it again and did it as if like your fear is a secret just between you and your mom, and this might be the last time you see her. And it was really good. And this guy's just a solid actor, so he really worked with that. Um, yeah, and so with the first one, they said that they missed the story because the energy was so high and the movement was too big. Um, and so the objective to make others as afraid as he is, and then try it straight and terrified, and practice on ease, oohs, and ahs to get there's just technical stuff. E will help you be forward and bright, oohs will help you be forward and down, and ahs will be back and down. Good to practice on a fricative Z or V, Z, V. And think about your instrument. Think about it if you were an instrument that can help you. And an exercise as an exercise, lean into the fear of World War III. Yeah, bringing it down to reality and putting the focus on the words. And we heard we heard it more and we understood it more. Um, get close to your fear. Yeah, and then I said that. And then prep, drop the indicating this could be the last time you see her and less is more. You're fully present. And then someone else went up and said, Love will come and find me again from Bandstand. And then tell us your history. Graham wasn't listening to the lyrics and he didn't know why, so he was kind of looking into that. And were your intentions clear? And it's kind of a diegetic song where she's singing in a competition, but it's reflecting how she really feels. So he said, take away the context of like singing the competition, and then need a sobbier sound, like a sad Santa. Oh, 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 oh. I could help open you up. Just sad Santa myself into a yawn and get that sound. And if you will train um, you to get in it easier, and then find a stronger story, directing it to the audience more helps to bring the sound out. And then from the glorious ones, my body wasn't why was his suggestion, which I thought was interesting. And then another one went and sang Not a Day Goes By from Merrily We Roll Along. And it was a little oversold in the first line or two. The tempo started slowing, so we need to drive it through and never follow your accompanist, let him follow you. There's a desperation that pushes you through the song. What are the objectives, tactics, specifics, movements? Ignore the meaningless gestures. When the voice is fully supported, the sound is much smoother. Sharp equals. Trying too hard when like you're above the note, you're ah. I don't really know how to do that, but when you're flat, flat, and you're below, it's usually you're not trying hard enough. Um, Muscle memory is key to allow for musical interpretation and intention. Your attention can only be on one thing at a time. So the technical aspect needs to be second nature so that you can focus on the story. And then if you mean it, your body will naturally do what is right and true. You can still move as long as it's authentic. Suggested Baker's Wife, Gifts of Love. And Ava Brennan is playing Nancy, and we should look at her last night in um, Oliver, the what is it? Na, 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 as long as he needs me. And we had movement our last class, and we relaxed, and we focused on melting like butter, but not necessarily physically, but just that idea of our like muscles melting off of our bones. We did a little body check. We checked our feet to our head. I think that was first, probably. And we stepped into this space. We explored the Laban heavy and light, right? With walking and interacting and speaking our text a little bit, and how to act tension without creating tension, um, or to tense a performance. Or a tense performance with Greg, or creating a tense performance. Yeah, so we talked a little bit. So that was the whole class. We just explored heavy and light. So we walked around and moved around and interacted and said words and connected with people based on what was heavy and what was light. So heavy kind of had this thing, but how can you kind of prove those opposites? Because heavy isn't necessarily negative. It's got this weight to it. And then light isn't necessarily weak, right? You could be light and direct, or you could be heavy and indirect. These things, we kind of get them stuck in a certain mindset. Um, but then I asked the question about like, if we're pretending to push a piano, shouldn't you tense up? Because that's how your actual muscles would, especially if it's a prop piano that weighs 10 pounds and a regular one pays like 600. Like I'm just putting tension in my body because that's what my muscles would actually be doing. Um, And her answer was mostly along the lines of we want to get rid of unnecessary tension, right? So think about passing through the tension. Excuse me. Strong weight isn't about creating a fixed position. It's about channeling strength through space. It's about the movement, radiate, right? Quality doesn't necessarily change power. And then our change of centers, we also did this. Um, how do we move if we have heavy hands or strong hands? Heavy or strong, both of those were used. With our gestures, and what is it if it's light? And then with our heart, a heavy or a strong heart and a strong or heavy gut. And how does that change our position and our character? Don't get stuck in a single center. You can change and they can be experienced in opposites, right? You have all these different sides of you, like your chest isn't just your forward, but your back and your sides as well, right? This is all about presence. Can't be unaware and be present at the same time. So coordination and space are the best things to engage in movement activities. That's the gist of it. That was Wednesday, the 28th of January, 2026, day 3. Hope you enjoyed it. That was the day. Bye.